I said, guess who's back? Man, guess who's back? So real quick, UFC 280 has just finished. This is a quick preview of post-fight, what basically happened. It was a good fight. I mean, for the main cards, they were all good. I got my predictions all right, every single one. Not blowing my own horn, but I kind of had a feeling what was going to happen. Let's just kick things off with the first fight for the championship belt. This was against Charles Oliveira versus Islam Maccachev. I thought Maccachev would win. I thought that he's just too big, too strong. He's definitely the strongest in the division, and I knew that before going into the fight. Oliveira has lost fights in the past, so he was on a really good winning streak. But some people were saying that Maccachev has never been at this level, but I could just tell from watching him fight in all of his fights in his 10 fight winning streak that he was the stronger fighter. These Dagestani fighters, they're naturally strong. They have wrestling in their blood. They do it all the time, and I could just see the skill level that he has is just exactly the same, on the same level as Khabib. They're like the same person. They come from the same background, the same culture of that wrestling, and I just knew that the combination of being physically stronger than Oliveira and also having the same kind of skill set when it comes to the groundwork, with their Dagestani wrestling, I knew it was going to cancel out the submission threat from Oliveira and the ground game. And so if you don't have that, then all you have is, the stand-up, which Oliveira's stand-up is quite good, but it just wasn't enough. He got taken down multiple times, and just the physical strength and also the knowledge that Maccachev has not to get caught up in submissions and stuff like that, it was all too much, and in the end he ended the fight by submission himself. Islam submitted Oliveira. Anyone else, I think Oliveira would have got out of it, but Maccachev just too skillful. This is what they grow up with. They grow up with this kind of wrestling, and they know how to fight on the ground, and this was Oliveira's game. So once this game plan was taken away from him by someone else who knows how to do exactly the same kind of thing, even though it's a different style of, one is jiu-jitsu, but even so, it just cancelled it out. It cancelled out Oliveira's best skill set. And then after that, he had nothing left really. It just came down to who was physically stronger, and that was Islam Maccachev. So Islam Maccachev goes on to fight as a champion now. I knew that he would do it. Now, the obvious question is, who can beat Islam Maccachev? And the answer to that, in my view, is nobody at the moment. I think he's the best. I think he's the best at the moment, His ground game, there's no one that's going to beat him on the ground. As you can see, and I knew that before this fight happened. There's no one who's going to be physically stronger than him. And the really scary thing, even more scary than that, is that his striking game is actually quite good. He's quite composed. His boxing is actually quite good. He actually did better than I thought he would against Oliveira. Actually landing a strike that actually put Oliveira down. So if his striking is good, and you know that no one's going to beat him on the ground, then I can't see how someone is going to beat Islam Maccachev. He's probably going to be champion for a very long time, and a very long run is ahead of him, definitely. On to the second fight of the card, we have TJ Dillashaw versus Jermaine Sterling. This is another one I got right, prediction. I knew that Jermaine Sterling was going to win. A few different factors. A lot of people actually thought that TJ Dillashaw was going to do it, but first of all, Aljamain's been way more active. That really makes a big difference. He's been active with top opposition. He's beaten Peter Yan, Peter Yan is really the acid test. Great fighter. If you can beat him, you're at the top or near the top. So I knew that Aljamain was in great shape as well. And I just felt like he's actually quite a well-rounded fighter. He's getting better with his strikes. You know how good he is already on the ground. He's a very wary fighter as well. He's quite good defensively. I think he's one of the best in this division. Now TJ Dillashaw, unfortunately, he was off for a long time. He got the ban. You know, he hasn't been that active. Although he did come back recently, but he didn't look that great in his last fight. Also, I think he's the smaller man naturally. You know, Jermaine Sterling is actually quite a big guy. You know, he gets down to, he cuts a lot of weight to get down to that 135 pounds. You can see that he's naturally a bigger man. He's got no fat on him at all to reach that weight, and you can see that he can quite easily fight a weight above, maybe even 2 weights above, quite easily. You know, so he is actually quite a big guy, and I felt that would play a part in the fight as well. The actual fight, it wasn't competitive at all. I know a lot of people are going to say, you know, TJ Dillashaw suddenly has got this shoulder issue, which I believe he had an issue with his shoulder, you know. But end of the day, you know, I think you have to give Aljamain his props, which I didn't really hear anyone giving his props for the fight. Even Dana White after the fight never mentioned anything about Sterling's performance. I don't know what that's all about, but just because TJ Dillashaw had a problem with his shoulder, in my view, that doesn't mean that you can completely disregard, you know, his performance. And that's what I felt like Dana White kind of did in the post-fight press conference. But anyway, I'm jumping ahead. The actual fight, the first collision, the first interaction between them, I think Aljamain he went for a takedown, and as TJ Dillashaw was kind of falling backwards, he kind of fell awkwardly, it looked like, and popped his shoulder out. I think it was his right shoulder. Could have been his left shoulder, I'm not even sure, but I think it was his right shoulder. He popped out his right shoulder, and then from then on, he couldn't really fight. He got taken down a number of times, ground and pound a number of times, and he didn't really have an answer for it. Now, people could say this was because of his shoulder. I think it was always going to happen, even on his best day. I think it was always going to happen, you know. I don't think it was just because of his shoulder why he lost so convincingly, but this was the excuse he gave. End of the day, he lost convincingly, and it all depends on how good you are on the night. No one really wants to hear excuses, oh, I had this issue or that issue. You know, if your shoulder is so bad that you can't fight, you should cancel it, or you should say something that you have a little bit of an injury. Dana White didn't know anything about it. He just brought it up after the fight, and this leaves a bit of a bad taste in your mouth when someone does that. I feel like they've taken away from Aljamain's amazing win, where he didn't even get hit once, just because of the excuse of somebody else. I think he should have got a split of the bonus money, but he didn't even get a mention. You know, so I feel bad for Jermaine Sterling. I know a lot of fans and stuff, they don't really like him at the moment, but the guy is working hard, he's winning, and definitely deserves more respect, even if not from the fans, but deserves more respect from Dana White. Where if you watch the post-fight interview, he doesn't mention him. When someone brings him up about his performance, he completely ignored it. I just think it's bad taste. But anyway, Jermaine Sterling goes on after dominating TJ Dillashaw. There was some talk of who Sterling might fight next. They spoke about maybe Cejudo coming out of his retirement to fight Sterling. That would be a great fight, really good fight. I don't know who would win that. But I'll tell you one thing, it will definitely be more competitive than this TJ Dillashaw fight was. I think Cejudo is an amazing fighter, very smart, and wouldn't be beaten so easily like the way TJ was, so that would be a good fight. The third fight, which was a fight that I was really looking forward to, that I know a lot of fans were looking forward to, was Sean O'Malley versus Peter Yan. It didn't disappoint. It was a good back and forward fight. Peter Yan started fast. Normally he's been accused of starting slowly, but he definitely didn't in this fight. Went for early takedowns. He took O'Malley down. O'Malley landed a few shots, a few strikes on the feet. O'Malley's very accurate with his shots. He had good distance, but I think Peter Yan was much faster than he thought, and he had quite good defense. He was quite slippery. He was getting on the inside, landing some shots, getting the takedown, and basically it was quite a difficult fight to score because it depends on what you kind of prefer. If you prefer takedowns and kind of ground control, then Peter Yan won this fight because he took him down numerous times and controlled O'Malley for a few minutes before O'Malley got back to his feet. So I would say he was quite dominant when it came to the takedowns. But when they did get to their feet, on the feet, O'Malley landed the better shot. So if you prefer strikes, then O'Malley won, basically, because he landed the better strikes. I still felt like O'Malley could have done a lot better. He could have landed more kicks. He didn't really try and land that many kicks. I think he could have been much more active with the kicks. Used the kicks to measure the distance and to keep Peter Yan at distance. Instead, he was just kind of using the jab and trying to move around. But I think he could have used his strikes a bit better. Could have been more effective with his strikes. He was a little bit. He wasn't very active with the kicks, basically, and he just was concentrating on with the punches, and I think that's why it was so close. I think he would have been much better off using a few strikes, a few kicks, side kicks, feint head kicks, and leg kicks as well. I think he should have used a lot of leg kicks. Yeah, Yan was very kind of aggressive, and the leg kicks would have really made the fight look more decisive in O'Malley's favour. But because he didn't use that, I don't really know who won. I'd have to watch the fights again. This is my instant reaction, really quick reaction just after watching the fight once. My immediate reaction was kind of that Peter Yan kind of won, but I'd have to watch it again. I'm really not sure. But anyway, O'Malley got the decision, split decision. I might even add controversial. It was definitely a controversial split decision. I really don't know. I'd have to watch it again before I say too much, because at the moment I would still say Peter Yan won. I would slightly give it to Peter Yan, but it really does depend what you prefer. Like I said, if you're talking about strikes, I think O'Malley landed the cleaner strikes. But if we're talking about ground control, then it was definitely Peter Yan. Peter Yan took O'Malley down numerous times. So yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Maybe they could run this one back. I would like to see them run it back, actually, because they seem to be fairly matched, and because it was a controversial decision, it's only fair on Peter Yan, because he has been on the wrong side of a few close decisions recently. So yeah, but I was actually going for O'Malley, so I am happy that O'Malley won. I think he's an amazing talent. I think he needed to fight a top guy like this to know where he's at, and to basically know where to improve on, because I think you don't really know how to improve until you fight the top guys. So I think this was a good test for O'Malley, definitely. He should definitely improve from this, and I would like to see O'Malley kind of take a note out of someone like Adesanya's book, because I think they fight very similar, using the range, good accurate strikes. They're very similar in how they fight. I feel like O'Malley should kind of look up to Adesanya's, try to emulate his style. If you watch Adesanya, he uses his kicks really strategically. Anything that's on offer. If you're very attack-minded, if your opponent is very offensive, then he uses a lot of kicks. Whether you can see them or not, whether you know it's coming, if you watch Adesanya, he kicks the legs, he'll do head kicks, he'll do kicks up the middle, he'll do different style of kicks just to keep you off. He uses a lot of strikes. He's just a lot more active than O'Malley, and I feel like that is the natural progression in the direction that O'Malley should be trying to go to. He should be trying to emulate that type of style, because I think they naturally have a similar type of style anyway, but O'Malley just doesn't really utilize his kicking game that much, and I feel like once he starts doing that, he's going to be a lot more dominant. I think that's a natural progression in how he should improve. That's just my personal view, but personally I'm excited about him as a fighter. I like his persona, his different character. I said this in in another video that I made about this card, in the pre-fight video. I said that I tipped him to win, and I like his style, you know, I definitely like his style. I think he's good for the game as well, just because he's so different, you know, he's the way he dresses, his clothes, his mannerisms. Definitely a future star in the making.
Man, guess who's back? So guess who's back?
If you enjoyed my content, please consider liking, sharing, or subscribing to my videos. Thank you.